Everyone, this is Kim Hunt from Affinity Community Services, and you may be looking at your calendar right now wondering why Affinity is on at this time of the month. We're generally on the fourth Friday of the month, but we switch places with one of our colleague organizations today, so we're on a week early and glad to be here. As I mentioned, I'm Kim Hunt. I'm the Executive Director of Affinity Community Services, which is a social justice organization located on the south side of Chicago. Our constituency is the Black LGBT community, queer youth, and allies. And our work focuses on a number of issues: health and wellness, civic engagement, leadership development. And within those three buckets, we do quite a few things, from community forums to movie screenings to referrals to health services and youth leadership development programs. And we're happy to be here today. We have a guest with us, Jason Wilson, who is a graduate student, right, at the Chicago Theological Seminary. And we're going to be talking about a program that Jason has put together and Affinity is a co-sponsor of. But before we get there, I want to remind people that this is a call-in show. The number is 312-738-1060. So, Jason, let's get started. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell me a little about yourself and the student organization that you run, and then we'll jump into what the program is about that we're going to have the pleasure of working with you on in a couple of weeks.
Well, I'm Jason Carson Wilson. I'm a MDiv Master of Divinity candidate at Chicago Theological Seminary with a focus on parish ministry and social justice, and a great passion for social justice really inspires my great admiration for Bayard Rustin, which inspired me to convene, or rather found, the Bayard Rustin Society, a student organization at Chicago Theological Seminary, which focuses on Black LGBT students within the seminary. However, one of its focuses also is social justice, with a particular focus on Black LGBT issues. But like ministry, also finding ways to reach other areas of the entire community, but the primary focus is Black LGBT issues.
Mm-hmm. So we're really excited to be working with you on this program coming up, and I'll just give people. So Bayard Rustin celebrating his time on Two Crosses, which is happening Saturday, April 25th, from 8:30 to 4:30. And Jason, why don't you tell us what the lineup is and what your goals are for this program?
I guess can go ahead and start with the lineup. So the lineup will be continental breakfast, given that it's starting early in the morning, and then
Gotta feed the people.
Amen. Followed by a panel discussion, which will feature Kim as one of the panelists, as well as Jamie Frazier, pastor of the Lighthouse Church of Chicago, and community organizer Veronica Morris-Moore, as well as a well-known Chicago historian, Timula Black, has just signed on to serve as panelist. So that's something that I'm very, very proud of, that he wants to be involved in this program. And then following that will be lunch, and then we'll screen Brother Outsider and have a Q&A, and then the keynote will be by Walter Nagel, Bayard Rustin's partner, who graciously agreed to fly in from New York to participate in this
Fantastic.
event. Yet another thing that just is exciting for me. So,
well, we'll come back to that wonderful
Good evening.
lineup. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I want to ask your guest, what is his views in terms of the Pope? Because he seems to be attracting more people back into the faith, even gays and people that's divorced. And then we look in, even locally, the current Archbishop of Chicago, Supit, he seems to be much more welcoming. I just wanted, and also to mention, I understand the Cardinal passed away.
Right.
I just like to ask you, what is your views? I understand the Cardinal that passed away, he wasn't so welcoming, and this the current Archbishop, the Archbishop is somewhat like the Pope. And I'd like to ask you, I'd like to hear your views on that.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in.
Well, I guess for me, I appreciate the fact that the Archbishop and the Pope are both attempting to make strides to be more welcoming. They're not where I'd like them to be, but
right. It's a big change, though.
Yeah, but I appreciate the attempt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. So let's talk a little bit more about this lineup. So is Timeo Black going to be on the panel as well?
Yes.
Oh my God,
yes.
I did not know. Oh, that's going to be so cool. And I'm honored to be on a panel with Timeo Black. This is fantastic. Oh, we have another call.
Yeah, it seems like every time when these politicians say one thing in front of the media, it seems like everything backside what they be saying. And what's the use? And the preachers be saying, and they are ministers. And everything is backside in front of the media. Hello?
You know what? There's some distortion in your phone. We're having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, what I'm trying to say, every time when the politicians in front of the media, they be saying one thing, it seems like everybody is backside in front of the media, and the preachers and the politicians, everybody is backside. Hello?
Okay, we'll comment on that. Interesting concept. I think that, he's referencing politicians and sometimes making comments in front of the media and then doing something completely different when the cameras are not in range. And I don't know if that's related to the previous call. I will say, looking at the work of Bayard Rustin and how he was able to navigate that, moving from like a community organizer to one who became much more engaged in what I would say public policy advocacy, and the shift that had to be made and learning to kind of work within that system is something that I've always found fascinating. In fact, I'm reading this book now, and I'm not getting any commission off of this at all. It's Time on Two Crosses, The Collected Writings of Bayard Rustin. And I think that there are a lot of lessons in here for folks who are doing both the community organizing and the public policy types of stuff. So tell me what Bayard means to you and how you really wanted to pull this together to honor him.
I mean, I think that and that's actually where I got the title for the program, is the title of the book. And one of the things that that really spoke to me about him was his time on Two Crosses, being black and being gay, and how that inspired him to be in a situation of needing to please different constituencies at the same time, and then having to deal with within the civil rights movement was forced to deal with two constituencies, black and white people, in order to get things done. And I have, being someone who is biracial, has dealt with that similar experience of needing to try to please multiple audiences at the same time. And so it just, his story just really, really spoke to me, and just felt like we could be kindred spirits. And so it really was something that hit me when I was researching a paper for the study of Black Faith and Life in one of my seminary courses taught by Lee H. Butler Jr. And so, and as I studied and learned more about him, it just, the similarities just really spoke to me so much that that's how actually I came upon Walter Nagel, because I was using FBI records as studying for my research, and I found his address in the FBI files, and just as I'm doing online research, I decided, well, I'll Google Walter Nagel and see what his address is, and found that he's still in the apartment that they shared.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's how I found the number.
I had the pleasure of meeting him about a year and a half ago. He was here for an Equality Illinois breakfast, and also later in that day for a screening of Brother Outsider. And just the stories that he shared were amazing. And I encourage people to really look at the life of Bayard Rustin. And you know, I'm thinking about that previous caller saying, you know, that there's sometimes a different information that comes out in front of the camera as opposed to behind the camera. And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff related to the civil rights movement and how folks treated Bayard Rustin, this genius who was the architect of the March on Washington. I think we have a caller. Or we're still sorting that out. Okay, so we'll still, let's continue on. So we've got Timyo Black, who is just an amazing historian, who's going to be on the panel. So I can't wait to hear what he's going to share. We do have a caller. Hello, you're on the air.
Good evening. I just tuned in to you.
Okay.
And I'm hearing you talk about an event for Bayard Rustin, and I want to know where it's going to be and when it's going to be.
Okay, it is going to be Saturday, April 25th. In fact, I'm going to switch that on now, at University Church in Hyde Park. So it's at 5655 University. It's right at the corner of 57th and University. From 8:30 to 4:30. Breakfast and lunch will be included. And this is free, right,
Yes.
Jason? This is a free event. So, and you can RSVP at Bayard Rustin Society at gmail.com, and we will put this information on Affinity's website. It's in our newsletter that came out today, and it's on our Facebook page today as well. And Jason has also created a Facebook event for that. So thank you for
and I've always wanted to talk to you because I've always wanted to volunteer for Affinity. So when I see you there, I'll be able to answer that.
Yes, you can also...
So have a very good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself to me when you when you see me, because I won't know it's you.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's I know who you are.
Okay.
Have a good night.
You too.
Have a nice evening.
That's a little scary. So Timyo Black, who I would imagine has probably crossed paths with Bayard Rustin.
I believe I found a photo today. Sadly, they didn't caption it, but I believe I found a photo today of them standing together.
Oh my God.
And if
It's going to be so cool.
If I knew it was them, I was going to post it on Facebook, but I wasn't sure. So yeah, it's going to be.
We have to find someone to verify that.
Yeah.
So, have you seen Brother Outsider before?
Multiple times.
Yeah, same here.
I did it for research. I mean, well, first time it was for research, and then the next time, then the other times were just because I'm obsessed.
I love it. So, great documentary. I think it's been on PBS a couple of times, and it's been screened throughout the world at this point. We have another caller.
Good evening. I'd like your guest to address my comments. It's one thing about churches being politically active, that's no problem. But there's a problem when you have these ministers start endorsing these people that are running for a political office, and the two don't seem to mix. And
Okay, I think you're... So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. So the church for many years has been used as a site of political and civic engagement in the black community. So I don't think it's new for churches to endorse candidates, and candidates have certainly come to churches over and over again because it's a captive audience, so to speak. Do you have any thoughts on that, or?
I believe that, I guess from my perspective, I don't believe that for my theology, it's the church's place from a leadership standpoint to endorse churches. If the congregation, speaking of committees, things of that nature, wants to choose to endorse them, that's fine. But I don't believe that ministers, pastors should be in the business of endorsing candidates. I mean, I really, when I'm in the pulpit, would be focusing on issues as opposed to candidates.
That's a good point. Good distinction. I think we have another caller. This is a hopping night. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I guess I was listening to you in the beginning talking about Bayard Rustin, and I was curious to know if you could maybe talk a little bit now about his relationship with Adam Clayton Powell and the civil rights movement and kind of how that materialized.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Well, from my recollection, they had a very contentious and tense relationship because, from what I understand, Adam Clayton Powell was very jealous of the work that Bayard Rustin was doing, which was creating the persona from my perspective, helping create the persona and the person that Dr. King became, and was challenging the old guard, and to the extent that he made these accusations, threatened to make the accusation that there was a relationship between Dr. King and Bayard Rustin as a way of forcing that the alliance between Dr. King and Bayard Rustin apart. So, which was really surprising. I mean, I guess And I say it's surprising because I dealt with, or sort of had this concept that, we as a black community are all unified and would be unified, particularly when we're facing the challenges that they were facing at the time.
Yeah.
But it just surprised me, and I guess I shouldn't have been, that it wasn't as unified as it should have been.
Well, I think, part of your surprise is probably as the tendency, as you look back on history, is to romanticize it and to kind of smooth out all of those peaks and valleys and all the personalities and all the humanness that comes with this, because this is messy stuff. It is always messy stuff. And there are egos involved, even though, history doesn't portray it that way. And I think, the more we reveal about the humanness of our leaders and the folks involved in movements, especially as they get bigger and bigger and more prominent parts of our, national consciousness, I think the more that we tap into that humanness, the more the regular individual will understand that we all have power, and we can be empowered and emboldened to make systems work for us instead of handing that over to an individual. And I think I get the disappointment too. In fact, I just read that part in this book about the relationship between Adam Clayton Powell and some of the things that he was prepared to say if Bayard Rustin wasn't essentially kicked out of the civil rights movement establishment. Disappointing, but surprising, kinda.
Yeah.
We have another caller. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, how are you all doing this evening?
Good.
Nelson. I just wanted to ask you all, have you all read Bayard Rustin's book? I believe it's his biography, Troubles I Have Seen. And if your listening audience is trying to find out more about Bayard Rustin, that is also a good book that they may want to read.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing that up.
And my second comment is, there's also a movie that's called, I believe it's called Boycott, which is the story about Bayard Rustin's participation in the 1963 March on Washington. And I really think, I hope I got the name of that movie right, because if your listening audience really wants to know more about Bayard Rustin, that is a good place to start, because it also talks about what he experienced with the black church back during that time.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm old, trust me. I got some years under my belt, so.
Well, we need to see you at this event.
I don't know if you all have seen it, but I have, and I wish you all could see that, so that one day I can call in and we can talk about it.
Yeah, well, we would love to see you on April 25th.
You just might do that.
Okay. I hope you can come out.
Thanks for taking the call.
Thank you for calling. That's, oh gosh, there's
Actually, if I remember correctly, I have seen bits and pieces of that for but it was boycott, so it was about the 1955 boycott. So he'd gone down in 1956, so it was a year into the boycott
for the Montgomery
boycott.
boycott.
I'm sorry, for the Montgomery boys. And so he'd gone down there a year into the boycott, and had just been, I think it was just after either the house had been threatened to be firebombed, or it was just after the firebomb, and he came in, and so there's a really powerful scene where he comes to the house and it's surrounded by the sort of militia, and goes into the house and tells Dr. King, if you're trying to send a message about nonviolence, this might not be the best way to do that.
Yes. You can't have a gun in the house. You can't have armed security around your house. So that was a huge shift in King's thinking. Yeah, he had to walk the talk.
And that was one of the things that really also kind of endeared me to Bayard Rustin, was that as we talked about romanticism, we've romanticized Dr. King. I mean, he was human too, and so it just really spoke volumes to me, knowing that he was a gay black man that could go in and tell this giant or fashion giant of the civil rights movement, there's some things you need to be doing differently.
Yeah. So. And I think that folks should also understand that he didn't just come along during the civil rights movement. His activism started in the 30s and 40s. Right. He was doing it long before King and all those big leaders in the civil rights movement. He was with the
Fellowship of Reconciliation with A.J. Musty. Yeah. And then he also tried to get involved he started to get involved in gay rights in the 80s.
Right, I was going to say, died, he kept doing it until he died in the 80s. He was
involved in some human rights situations where he would travel to other countries towards the end of it, just all the way up until he transitioned.
It was in his blood.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it, and he lived it, and he was just an amazing person, and I'm so glad that you'll be honoring him. So I'm so happy that you put this together. Again, it's April 25th, 8:30 to 4:30. It would be great if folks would RSVP so you know how much food to get. And that's at Bayard Rustin Society at gmail.com. Again, Affinity will have this information on its website, which is affinity95.org. So I want to thank you for coming. I'm looking forward to being on the panel and to participating in the other parts of the program, which is it's a week away.
Yes.
Which is amazing. Seemed like it was so far, and now it's upon us. I encourage all of you who've called in and all of you who are watching to come as well, because it's going to be a wonderful program. And we will see you at our regular time next month, which will be the Friday before Memorial Day. So before you head out of town, tune in and watch us. And everybody have a great weekend. Thanks.